ahead and do a sample run of a listing agreement, contract only, so you can see how to do it. This is the way we'd like it to be filled out for our firm. Doesn't mean there aren't a ton of other attachments and addendums that can go into these, but right now we're just going to do a standard program for the exclusive right of listing. So when we get into this, of course, you're going to put the seller's name in, whatever it may be. Yeah, I like Sally Seller. It just always makes me chuckle. So you have the authority to sell a property because you're meeting with these folks. And the fun part about that is the seller gives the broker the exclusive right to sell. That's the only thing we're looking for, and we do these as transaction brokers, not as single agents. We do not want to do single agents unless we have an extremely expensive property and somebody asks us to. So right now what we're looking at is the terms. When's it begin? So you're working on the listing agreement now. They're signing everything now. Doesn't mean you have to start the listing today. So they're not quite ready, but we talk them into doing the paperwork. So we're going to list it Monday instead of today. And we will typically terminate out. There's no reason not to give yourself 6 months, even though they're selling in 1 week. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to December. And we may as well go to December 13th. It's just a 6-month listing, very standard. If you get used to doing shorter listings, it's a bad idea because you're still going to do your marketing and everything. And if somebody only gives you 30 days and the market changes, you'll have done all your work for no apparent reason. So we'll come in here, we'll import, their street address and whatnot. Goes in here, of course, and any personal property that's included, including appliances. So in here, we're going to say everything from a stove or a range. You even have to include microwave, range hood, because some people will change them when they shouldn't. So microwave, range hood, dishwasher, fridge. What else? Disposal even, believe it or not. Other appliances. Washer. How about a dryer? Any appliances that remain we want to put on here. I mean, what if there's a freestanding freezer? Let's put it on there, okay? It just keeps people honest, and you've got them committed to selling these things. Be sure to learn how to set up the app files data for importing for the property info into your app files training videos. So look at the app file training videos and you'll see how to import all of the data. It's important. But this part here just keeps you safe. It's something that you say goes with the property. The owner can't say after the fact, I wanted my washer and dryer and that's upright free freezer. I wasn't leaving that. Well, yeah, you said you were. That's why it's on there. I wouldn't have done it if you hadn't told me to. I only did what you told me to is the line to use there. Because you will have sellers that occasionally, a deal closes, the buyers go for their final walkthrough or is heading to closing, the buyers go for their final walkthrough, washer and dryer are gone. Well, that seller needs to freaking bring it back because it's not theirs at closing, or they're going to need to leave some cash on the property. So on this one, property is occupied, they live there, and there is not a lease. It's owner occupied. Price, this is a pretty nice house. Out on the water a little ways, and they want $950,000 for it. And they will do cash, conventional. I wonder if I should put the 00 here just to be safe. Why not? And on this one, that price point, there's no point in going VA or FHA. I don't think it's going to qualify because of the, if it does get a loan, it's going to be in a, great, what's the loan called? Okay, anyway, it's over the dollar amount. for the smaller loans. Seller financing, nope, they don't want to sell it. They don't want to do any assumptions, anything like that. So that's not happening. Don't have to do a thing with it. Seller expenses, seller will pay for mortgage discount points. In our market right now, that's just not happening. People aren't doing it. Broker obligations, multiple listing services, these are things you should read through and be familiar with. Of course, we didn't write these either. This is the Florida Realtors Association that wrote these. We fill in the blanks. So, do we want other agents to be able to display the property on the internet with marketing or advertising the property? Display the property with internet except the street address. Yeah, why not have the street address? The only reason you wouldn't have the street address is if it's a police officer, someone in the court systems, a judge. Certain people will ask to have their street addresses withheld. That's why you would use that. Otherwise, we want it on there. We want people to drive by and see our signs in the yard and like the house. Not publicly market to the public. Okay, so seller does not authorize broker to display in the MLS. Again, this is very rare. It's considered a pocket listing, and we have to be very careful. If it goes that route, you need to talk to me, and I'll help you through it because it could get you in trouble if it's not handled appropriately, okay? So we're going to use a lockbox system to access the property, and seller is advised to remove their valuables or secure them. It's all important. We don't want to withhold verbal offers. We don't want to withhold offers once the seller accepts a contract because they may want a backup contract. I give them all of them. Of course, I tell them verbal schmerbles. Somebody brings me a verbal offer and the buyer or the seller says, yeah, if they write it up, we'll consider it serious. So that's what I'll use for that one. But I don't want it withheld. Virtual office websites, the seller does not authorize an automatic estimate of the market value of the listing or a hyperlink to such estimate to be displayed on, in conjunction with the listing of this property. I don't really have any problem with that one. Seller does not authorize third parties to write comments or reviews. I agree with that. I don't want the sellers or other agencies or people to be able to write comments or reviews on a property because some people can just be jerks. Let's not let them comment on them, okay? And I know a lot of people also don't want this one done, but I don't see where it hurts to have an automated estimate of the market value. You know what? Let's not do this one either. I read it wrong. I was thinking that it was an estimated payment, but it's an estimated market value. No, they don't need that. We have a value. We're listing the property. If we've done our job right, we know what it is. So those are the things that get covered there. Legally required disclosures. Of course, we want to have a seller's disclosure and if there are any violations, anything like that. And here is where compensation. We are asking for 6%, and we have a plus $295 for our transaction fee. You want to make sure before any of this is done that the seller signs the Ellermets Realty standard disclosure. That covers that item and takes good care of them. We don't want to be involved in a consideration of an option, and we're not a leasing company, so we're actually looking for the 6% plus $295. Now, broker's fee is due in the following circumstances, and here I think it's smart to just put 180 days after termination. It protects you if somebody, I don't know, breaks the agreement with you and turns around and sells it to somebody that you've already shown the property to. You're protected. You still get paid. Retained deposits. I personally like using 50% goes to the buyer and 50% comes to the brokerage, or the seller, I'm sorry, the others goes to the brokerage if there is any of those fees retained. It depends on the situation, of course. If the seller has moved out of the house, the deal doesn't go through, and everything falls apart and you're relisting, do you really want to retain part of their transaction or their escrow funds? For me, typically no, but that's a discussion that can be had at that time. Cooperation with and compensation to other brokers. This is what we're willing to pay a buyer's agent to bring a buyer to our property. So what we're going to do is right here, we'll say that it is 3% minus $295. It covers our fees, right? We're not doing a flat fee. This is a percentage. If it's that's for a buyer's agent. If this is a single agent, if this is a actual buyer's agent, it's going to be 3% minus 295. I'm into anybody that brings us a buyer. We want to pay them. So if we're over here and people go, but they don't have a brokerage relationship, why would we pay them? It's still a realtor to be able to bring that to you. People don't understand this. Um, so I agree with paying whoever brings us, that's a licensed agent, brings us a viable buyer and writes up a contract, we're going to pay them. And it's 3% minus 295. And let's see. Make sure I did that accurately for this new form. And it's not an or. If that word was and, I would put the 295 here as a minus. Anyway, conditional determination. You can come up with what you think is fair in here, but it's always easy to put a heavy number in here and make people go, what? Yeah, if you break your agreement with me, it's going to cost you money because it's costing me money to get all of my marketing and advertising done. I will say it's kind of hard to collect sometimes from sellers if that occurs. Additional terms, these are things that if there are additional terms, we would put them here. Something that definitely does not go with the property. Let's say that, you know, um, light fixture over the so things like that would come into here if the light fixture doesn't convey. And that was spelled wrong. Let's go back here and correct it. It's where I love app files. It allows us to go back and change one thing without it being a big deal. If I could hit the right thing still. There we go, guys. All right, save. This is the simplest part of the forms we do. They sign, we sign, and we get to work. Then, of course, we have to get into the other items, such as the seller's disclosure. You want them to fill that out at the same time. Don't leave them with them. They'll have the best of intentions of going back and filling that out, but it just doesn't get done. If you have other things like there's an HOA in the community, you want a seller to fill out the HOA document for the buyer ahead of time, and make that part of your listing package that they do. And anything else that you may need to do, whether it's HOA, CDD, seller's disclosure, those type items, you need to look in our app files and look at the full listing package that's required, and you'll find those documents there. Good work.